Welcome to Goob's Kitchen. Today we're doing steak pinwheels with chimichurri. Let's get cooking. So the first part we're gonna do is the chimichurri. So we're gonna need some olive oil, red wine vinegar, some cilantro, salt, pepper, onion, garlic, and then optional, but I enjoy it, is a jalapeno. So we're just gonna cut up our veg. We're adding the entire cilantro stem and all into there, so it's really just cleaning it up, adding in the veggies like the onion and the jalapeno, and then blending it up. And I will show the portions after I add everything in here. All right, so I have the one onion, about a half a jalapeno, and then you can see like the entire cilantro bunch, stems and all, in there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my olive oil, and I'm gonna do a few glugs, solid amount, because you want it like a thinner sauce. And then I'm gonna grab my red wine vinegar, and I'm gonna do, again, a few glugs of that, my salt, good shake, and good shake of pepper as well. And then just a scoop of minced garlic. And then this is the consistency you're looking for. It's totally a taste preference afterwards. If you want it more spicy, you can add more jalapeno. If you want it more, vinegary, add more red wine vinegar. But you're looking for about this texture with it. All right, so now that the chimichurri is done, we'll do the steak pinwheel portion. So I've got my skirt steak from the carniceria. I have some peppered salami and some Havarti cheese. And then for my utensils, got my meat mallet. I have my twine, and I have my scissors. So the skirt steak coming from the carniceria isn't going to be like perfectly even and stuff like that, so they come in different shapes. And so what I try to do is I try to find pieces that will eventually lay so that it's flat across. So I find, like a long side on one of them and then a short side on the other, so essentially it fills out my entire tray here. And then what I'll do is I'll pound it out so that they're even in width and even in the texture. And I'll show you what that looks like after I finish this first round. So this is what it looks like all pounded out. You can see that all the holes are filled and that it's pretty even across, so it makes it easier to roll. In half, so I get these little strips, and I'm just laying them evenly across a line here on the first third of it. So I'll show that here. So essentially it's just a line on the, like I said, on that first third. And then in that same way, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the salami and lay it out, kind of almost like you're doing like a Subway sandwich. You're gonna lay it out in another row. So essentially when I roll it, you'll have the layer of cheese and then you'll have the layer of salami. And so I'm gonna do one more layer of cheese and then one more layer of salami. So you get this kind of alternating roll pattern once I roll it up. And so, got my final layer. And so it looks like this, almost like a flag, like a line. And then what I'm gonna do is I have a little bit extra. So similar to cinnamon roll, you always wanna leave a little bit of extra room on the top, because that's where you're really gonna start your roll. So you're gonna start your roll, I'm gonna start it from this side here that has a little bit of extra. And I'm just gonna flip it over onto that first layer and then just begin to roll like a cinnamon roll. So you wanna take your left side and tuck it in as you roll, all the way to your right side and tuck it in as you roll, and back. almost snaking that roll process all the way to the end. And you'll end up with a log of meat and cheese stuffed. And essentially what I'm doing when I'm tying it is I'm going to mark off where I'm going to cut in between it, right? So I'm gonna mark the middle so it holds together of my tie. So if I want a like a 2-inch chunk for on the grill, I'm gonna put it right in the middle of that 1-inch marker so I can cut in between each, and you get it as it's held in place. So like I said, I'm gonna do about 2 inches. And so I'm gonna take a string, I'm gonna cut, I'm gonna go under at that about 1-inch mark, then just tie a knot. And then I'm gonna move in again, right? So I've got this chunk for the 1-inch. I'm gonna do, or like the 2-inch, and I have it marked at the 1-inch. Then I'm gonna do the next 2-inch, and I'm gonna mark it at that 1-inch mark again. So I'm gonna take the string, cut it, slide it under, and then tie at that 1-inch mark again. So I'll turn this guy over in just a second after I finish cutting or tying this one. And so you can see here, I plan to cut here and here. So these ties remain in the middle of my medallion. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna slice. Got my handy dandy tray and my trusty super sharp knife. Again, as I explained, you know, you're gonna go in the middle, so you're gonna go in the middle of your cuts. And so you can see I got that solid piece, and then you can see the roll inside, so you get that pinwheel sort of look there. I'll do the same here. You get that pinwheel look. So these I'm making a little bit bigger because I just like a good amount of meat. so these are some solid chunks, and I have, you know, a few people coming over, so making sure the portions are good sizes. But this is what it looks like, and that's what's gonna go on the grill. So we're just finishing up the grill process here. You can see that they're got that nice char on them, and then they'll have the rolls because they're held together by the ties there. So looking good.